it's Independent Bookshop Day, so we have to go to some independent bookshops. And also, I have been meaning to share what I have been reading lately. So it's just going to be a really cozy, quiet, fun, bookish day again, with a hike thrown in. Good morning and welcome. Welcome to a new vlog. Welcome if you're new here. Hi, I'm Andrea. I'm a full-time university writing instructor and a part-time content creator and indie romance author with 8 published novels. Currently working on my 9th, although I don't know how much work on it we're going to get done today, but that's another story. Welcome back if you're one of my lovely returning friends. It is great to have you all here. Welcome to Saturday morning. Saturday morning, just a little bit past 6 a.m. We are going hiking while it is still cool out. It is only 61 degrees, which is lovely. I will take that. So yeah, I am very, very sleepy. It is the Saturday before the last week of classes at work for my day job. So it is the end of the semester. I have spent this whole week grading. I still have so much grading to do. Yesterday I worked late. I worked past 5 o'clock. So no editing. Book editing got done yesterday because I was grading instead. All afternoon I had a workshop, a 2-hour workshop in the morning, and that just took up so much of my time. But then I still had all my usual stuff to do for a Friday. So it definitely put me behind. I also had a Zoom meeting with a student who's doing an honors contract. That went great. They're doing so well. I love how their honors contract project is turning out. So yeah, it was a very busy Friday. And now this weekend, I am just ready for a very relaxing, fun weekend. And I don't know how much editing is going to get done, but this is how it is when you're balancing a full-time job and writing. Most of the semester I can balance it, and I can do both, not equally, obviously, because writing is the part-time job, not the full-time job. Most of the semester I can balance the two. But there's always certain times of the semester, and the very end of it is always one of those times where I can't balance it. I can't manage to do both, not every day. So I think I did some book editing, 2 or 3 days this week. I think I did Monday, and I think I did a little bit on Tuesday, and then I think I did some on Thursday, but I can't remember. This week has been just a blur now. So today I just want to focus on resting and having fun and just resetting my brain a bit. So we're going to go for a hike, and then it's Independent Bookshop Day. So we have to go to some independent bookshops. So I want to go back to Changing Hands. I know they're doing some stuff for Indie Bookshop Day today. So I want to go check that out. And also, since I'm going to be down in the area, I want to go back to the Bookish Shop. So I'm taking you back to both of those bookshops, not that long after the last time I took you, but I want to go. And also, I have been meaning to share what I have been reading lately. So I've got a huge stack of books back at home to go through with you. So it's just going to be a really cozy, quiet, fun, bookish day again. Another bookish vlog. So with a hike thrown in. So I probably won't vlog that much of the hike, but let's get out there and enjoy it and kick off hopefully what will be a really nice and fun and relaxing Saturday. Okay, it is now later in the morning. It is just about 9:30. I'm gonna head out soon to go do some book shopping and just check out the bookstores for Independent Bookstore Day. But before I run out for a lovely late morning, early afternoon out at the bookshops, I wanted to go over the big stack of books that I have read lately. So these are all the books that I have read, plus a few Kindle books, so I'm gonna have to pull those up on my phone to be able to remind myself of the Kindle books I read. But as you can see by this stack that I'm not gonna lift up again, I've been reading a lot of physical books, which is really, really nice. I just feel like I'm getting back into like reading physical books. I still really love reading ebooks. I like just having my little iPad mini curled up on the couch, having the screen lit so I can have all the lights off if I want. Like, I do really love reading on my iPad, whether it's the Kindle app or the Libby app or whatever I'm using to read. I do love that. But I do love a good physical book, whether it's paperback or hardback. I love it. Going back to where was the last book that I talked about? I believe we left off the last book video with The Romance Library by Olivia Spring. So that means next up was The Library of Lost Love by Nori Clark, and I really enjoyed this one. It's a dual POV with a young woman who is still trying to sort her life out and an older woman, I think she's supposed to be like in her 80s or something, who is kind of looking for a second chance at things, and the younger woman moves in, becomes a lodger in the older woman's house. She rents a room. She's been kind of crashing on her best friend's couch and just needs to kind of get out and move on with her life. It's set in London, in Notting Hill. It's a really cute, quiet, cozy romance. It's got a bit of You've Got Mail, enemies to lovers, pen pals. I don't want to say too much, but even once you read it, you do kind of know where it's going because it does reference classic plots and classic tropes. But yeah, really, really enjoyed that one. The next one I read was, I'm slowly making my way through Beth O'Leary's books. So the next one I read was The No Show by Beth O'Leary. I love her work. I love her books. She is a hybrid genre author. This is like, I don't know if that's how they want to classify her, but that's how I would classify her. Her books get marketed as romance, but she is very strongly romantic women's fiction. I will say that all of her books have ended with a happily ever after. I don't think that's a spoiler. I do think that's what we expect from romance. And so they are correct in marketing them as romance in that way. But there's some heavier stuff, especially in this one. So the main premise does make it sound a little bit different from how it actually is. And I started piecing that together. So I would say go into this one knowing it's not going to be a straight up rom-com. It's going to have those elements to it, but it is also, this one in particular compared to her previous ones, I've read The Flat Share, The Switch, The Road Trip, and then this one. And I have loved all of them. This one has been no exception, but it was a little bit heavier than I was expecting, and it was not the lighthearted rom-com that I feel like it gets marketed as, but still really, really good and really worth reading. So if you're looking for romance with a little bit more depth, a little bit more complexity, a little bit more general kind of fiction vibes, I hate using the term women's fiction, but that's a separate rant. But if you just want romance with something a little bit more, something more focused on the journey of the main character and not just the romantic plot, check out Beth O'Leary in general, but I would recommend this one. So then the next book I read was an audiobook, and it's Sensitive, The Power of the Highly Sensitive Person in a Loud, Fast, Too Much World. And this is by Jen Graneman and Andre Solo. I have been wanting to read this for a while. I am an HSP. I am a highly sensitive person. I've been noticing that has been getting more apparent as I'm getting older, and as I'm going into perimenopause and all of that. I'm just feeling all of my sensitivities kind of really coming up and just being a lot more noticeable. And so I'm curious about books about highly sensitive people. I'm an introvert, I'm an HSP, I have ADHD, and I don't like using those labels to box myself in, but I like having those labels to be able to understand these are different elements of who I am and my personality and how my brain works, so that I can then research these things and understand them better. So really enjoyed that book. I listened to it on audiobook from the library, but I do think I want to eventually buy a physical copy that I can go back and like reread and highlight and annotate and things like that. The next book, and I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to cut myself off, or because I could spend an hour just talking about this book. Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wong. This right now is probably top 3 books I've read so far this entire year. I don't know how that list is going to change. I do predict this will stay definitely in the top 10, but probably even in the top 5, if not the top 3. It's hard to imagine something bumping this out. Number 1 is still Babel. That is still the best book I've read in 2025, but this is now the second best book I've read. I will say I liked Babel a little bit more than this one. If you liked Babel, I think you'll like this one. If you didn't like Babel, you might still want to give this a try. They're similar, but they're also different. This one was set in an entirely fictional world, and I think what puts Babel just over the edge for me in terms of edging out this one as that number 1 spot is I just prefer books that are set in our world or are an alternate version of our world where it feels really, really real. So I think that's why I like Babel slightly more, but oh my gosh, I loved this. It's not easy. Like, it's an easy read in terms of reading level and like the actual writing, but the topic, it's not an easy read. It is challenging. It does make you think, but it tells a really interesting story. I will say this one felt a little less academic than Babel. So I think if you've read Babel but didn't like the footnotes and didn't like the history and how academic it felt, which like that's what I love about Babel. But if you didn't like that about Babel, then this one is a slightly different vibe, but they do deal with similar themes. And yeah, I will stop, but I just, I thought this was going to take me a while because it just felt like a really big, thick, chunky book, but I read this in like 2 or 3 days. I could not put this down. Loved it. Highly recommend. The next book I read was nonfiction, but similarly like dark and challenging. So this one's gonna be a bit of a wild card, I feel like, for most of my subscribers here. But if you're looking for a really interesting and timely nonfiction book, may I suggest Doppelganger, A Trip into the Mirror World by Naomi Klein. I loved this. I really loved this. I don't know how to talk about this book because I don't want to give too much away. So Naomi Klein is a writer and social commentator, academic, professor, and there's another scholar, writer, academic, public commentator, first name Naomi. They look kind of similar, but not really, but they get confused online. Other Naomi has gone down this rabbit hole of conspiracy theories and misinformation, and just very surprising for what she had become known for. And I'm familiar with the older work of other Naomi, and I've read both Naomis, and I was familiar with both Naomis, but I hadn't realized what other Naomi had gone on to do and to start writing about. And so this gets into that journey of having an online doppelganger who says things that make other people upset, and so then they comment on it and criticize it but tag this Naomi in the social media posts. What does that do to your online identity, to your personal identity? So it gets into that, but then it also gets into a lot of the conspiracy theories and things that other Naomi was getting into, the origins of things. There's so much really interesting history and current events in this one, and things that I knew vaguely about, but didn't know a lot about, and yeah, highly recommend. Then I read Persuasion. Then we went to something just completely different from what I'd been reading. So I read my new copy of Persuasion that I'd bought last summer at the No. 1 Royal Crescent in Bath when Mom and I were in England. It's the beautiful Chiltern edition. I just love this edition so much. The pages just feel so beautiful. You almost like don't want to read it because it just feels so precious, but it was a completely different reading experience. I won't lie. I would highly recommend, if there's a book that is published in the Chiltern edition that you've been wanting to buy for your collection and reread, I would recommend it, because it's a very different reading experience. The gold edge pages, the glossy pages, I bought a bookmark at the No. 1 Royal Crescent, so that was my bookmark for this book. And yeah, Jane Austen's work is so fascinating because you can read it over and over and over again. Like, you can read it every 5 years or so as you get older, and you pull different things out of it. And I just feel like Anne and Frederick's story just hits different the older you get. And so the last time I read this, I think I was in my 20s, maybe early 30s. It's been a while since I've read it. And so it just hits different as you get older. So really enjoyed rereading that one. Then I went back to nonfiction, but history, and I read Shakespeare Sisters, How Women Wrote the Renaissance by Rami Targoff. I loved this. I loved this so much. If you are interested in literature and the history of literature, but more specifically if you're interested in the history of women and women's lives, I would highly recommend this. I would say this is more women's history than literary history, but I think that's why I loved it so much. So yeah, I'd say that's the only like disclaimer going in. Just know that you're going to learn more about the women and a little bit less about their books and their writing projects and what they became known for, but it's still, this is what I'm just most interested in, doing this like recovery work and giving us back some knowledge of these women, because these women were really important at the time and they've been overlooked by historians and they've been overlooked by literary scholars. And so the recovery work that Rami Targoff is doing is really, really important, and it's absolutely fascinating. So these are women who were alive and writing and reading and moving in the circles of upper society around the time of Shakespeare, which is why it's called Shakespeare Sisters, to their contemporaries of Shakespeare and other popular Renaissance dramatists of the time. So yeah, I just really, really enjoyed that one. So the next book I read, switching back to light and fun rom-coms, I read Not That Kind of Ever After by Lucy Adams. This was hilarious. This was so cute. It's mostly closed-doored as far as like steam level, but sex gets talked about, so just bear that in mind. There's not a lot that's actually on the page, but this is an adult woman living an adult life, engaging in adult activities, and the author doesn't like not talk about that. But it's set in London, again, guess why I liked it. But it's kind of a play on fairy tales. So the rough plot line is the main character works for a publishing company or an agency or something like that, works in the publishing world somehow, and is just feeling a bit disillusioned. She gets inspired to, it's basically like an online writing platform where you can write things and post it for other people to read and review, and she starts writing up semi-fictionalized versions of her bad dates as if they're different fairy tales, and she kind of gets really popular on this website because of that. So yeah, it's cute. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny, and I loved the London setting as the backdrop, and yeah, just the cover is super cute as well. So really enjoyed that. That was a nice, fun, easy, relaxing rom-com. Then I read Dancing with a Royal by Tommy Tabb. This was really cute. Definitely clean, sweet romance, royal romance. Really enjoyed it. Ballerina who gets to go do a special performance in London and just happens to bump into a fictional Prince of Wales or Crown Prince of England. It's not the actual British royal family. It's a fictional, like, alternate version of them. She has a run-in with the prince. She ends up getting assisted by the prince's cousin, I think, who's an earl or something like that, and romance ensues. It was a really cute, nice little royal romance. I really enjoyed it. I got sidetracked by my own books. So I reread my first book, A Brave Start. I was in a specific mood for a book that only I could write. I talked about this previously in the vlogs. I write the stories that I want to read, and so sometimes I do go back and reread them. And I wanted to revisit Eleanor. I was missing the world of Across the Pond. I was missing London. I also just wanted to revisit my own characters because I miss them when I'm no longer writing their books. So I read that, and then I skipped over books 2 and 3 in the series, and I reread book 4, Forever Love London, because I really love this book. Like, I love all my books. I do feel like even though it's only been like a little over 5 years since I published this one, it's 8 books ago. And I love this book. I still really believe in this book. 5 years and 8 books later, or 7 books, because this was the first one, there are things I would do differently, and there are choices that I would make differently. Even though people have really liked this book, I can see how much my writing has grown, and so I really enjoyed rereading this one. I've missed working on this one. I love Celeste as a character. I love the settings and the backdrops of the luxury hotel world in this one. I love some of the characters that get to have more of a role in this one that are much more background and supporting characters in the first 3 books. So yeah, and they're characters who will be making more of an appearance in book 5 when I finally get around to writing that one. So really enjoyed rereading this one, and yeah, had fun with that. Then I went back and reread Connectivity and the British Isles Billionaire series by Avon Ellis. So I have the first book in the series in a physical copy, but I've got all of them on my Kindle app. And so there are 4 books in the series. The 5th book is coming out on Wednesday, April 30th. So they're all interconnected standalones. You don't have to reread them, but I wanted to reread them before reading the next one. So yeah, really enjoy Avon as a writer in general. I think her British Isles Billionaire series is my second favorite, very closely tied, but technically second favorite after her Modern Royals series. And so I'm really excited for the 5th book in the British Isles Billionaires to come out. If you like billionaire romance as a trope, and if you like, I'd say she's medium spicy. Like, there's stuff happening on the page, but it's much more focused on the romance and the emotional connection between the characters, if that makes sense. Yeah, they're just really fun, swoony romances. That's how she gets described, and I would say that is an accurate description. So those are the books that I have been reading lately. And yeah, now it's time to go to the bookstore and buy some more books. No, I mean, yes, I am, but I do also already have a pretty large stack of books to read this summer. I will probably do like a summer TBR video at some point, or feature that in a future vlog, but we're not going to get into that in this vlog. But yeah, I want to go pick up, I think at Changing Hands, I'd like to find another history book maybe, and then definitely get something romance at the Bookish Shop. So I'm gonna finish getting ready. I'm just about ready, but I'm gonna finish getting all my stuff together, and then we will go out for a lovely, it's still morning, it's only 10 o'clock, not even. So a lovely late morning and early afternoon, probably be out for the next 3 to 4 hours. Anyway, let's go. giving you all a quick update in between bookshops. So I'm really glad I came to Changing Hands today. And if you can hear any noise, I'm sorry, but it is quite warm in my car, so I have the air conditioning going. Car is on, air conditioning is running, so we're gonna make this short. There are a few pop-up shops. There's a pop-up installation that Changing Hands has done on banned books, and that just... Some of the reasons some of these books have been banned are just mind-blowing. And a lot of these books, some of the older ones, are books that, like, I grew up with. Like, and no one, like, I know they were in my school library. I know some of these were taught in school. Like, Diary of Anne Frank. This is a whole separate rant that we won't get into, but I really liked the way that they put it together. It was really interesting. They've got a wide range of books that have all been challenged by various school districts and other organizations. So that was really cool. And that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to come to Changing Hands today, because they were doing this like pop-up thing today and tomorrow. But then they also had a pop-up shop table outside, 2 of them, one for Once Upon a Time books, I think. I didn't get a card or something, but I'll try to find some information online. But they were doing blind date with the books. I was very tempted. I opted not. The ones that sounded the most interesting were ones that also sounded really familiar, and I think I've already read them. She did have like a list of books that like you could check to see what it was, but then I kind of feel like it defeats the purpose if, like, anyway, I just didn't get one. I'm very picky with my books, so blind dates with a book don't always work out for me, but I really loved it. The table was busy. Like, she had plenty of people in front of her, both as I was arriving and as I was leaving. So that was really cool. And then the other pop-up shop was a table, Beyond Words Books. I did buy something there. I will show you when I get home. And they're actually going to be opening up in Mesa, not that far from the Bookish Shop in Gilbert. So that's very exciting. I got her card. I'm going to follow her on social media. I'll try to put her information here, or I will have shared something on Instagram probably. And once it's open, I will probably go check it out. So yeah, that was really exciting. So I did wander around. I did find a book from Changing Hands. So I have supported Beyond Words Books and Changing Hands. I've supported 2 local indie bookshops today so far, 2 and counting. So we're going to go to the Bookish Shop next and see what I can find there. When I went with Jess, we spent so much time talking that by the time we went in to look at books, even though I know we looked, like, we spent a lot of time walking around looking at all the books, I still feel like it was a bit rushed. I still feel like I just was overwhelmed. So I am feeling a little bit calmer today. I'm going to look at books first and then get a coffee, I think. I'm a little concerned because Changing Hands was super busy. Like, this is the busiest I've seen them. Their parking lot is full. There were a ton of people walking around. It is Saturday, so I don't know if this is like normal for a Saturday or if this is because it's Independent Bookstore Day. But I'm a little concerned about how busy the Bookish Shop is going to be. And like, I hope it's really busy. I hope all the local independent bookshops in Phoenix are doing really well today. But I also don't like crowds. So I'm going to try to look around. I really want to find a book there. I bought a necklace last time, but I would like to try to find a book there to buy today. But we'll see how long I'm able to linger at the Bookish Shop. I might be driven away by the crowds if the crowds are really busy. So let's get on the road, get over to Gilbert, and check out the Bookish Shop. I don't even know how much I got at the Bookish Shop. It was packed. I got there at probably like 11:45 and like quarter to noon, maybe even a little bit earlier than that. It was packed. There was like almost every seat at the coffee bar was taken, and on the other wall, the like bar of seating there was a line for the coffee. There were just crowds of people around all of the book tables, and then the patio looked like it was mostly full. So like the coffee shop was really busy and the bookshop was really busy. There had to have been at least 20 people all around just the one big like fantasy table. Yeah, it was really busy, which great. I love that. I love that for them. And I was glad to see it so busy. It just was not the best shopping experience for me. I was already feeling a bit done with crowds when I left Changing Hands, but Changing Hands at least is a bigger bookshop, so once you're like in Changing Hands, you could kind of find like areas where there were less people. But the Bookish Shop is pretty small, and the coffee shop and the bookshop are all kind of together. So yeah, it was really busy. I'm feeling very exhausted, a little bit overheated. I have a raging headache. I just think it was too much. It was nice. They did have more stuff there. It did seem like they had more stock. They had some mystery and thrillers that I mean, it's not just a romance bookstore. And the book just has to have a romantic subplot. So I think there were some like mysteries and thrillers that probably meet that criteria. It did seem like probably for Independent Bookshop Day, they had just a slightly wider range of stock, which was great. I do think it's a bookshop I would like to go back to semi-regularly just to see how their stock turns over and what different books they have. But I will say the majority of their books do seem to be the super popular, super hyped up contemporary romance and contemporary romance authors and romantasy books and romantasy authors. So it's a lot of books that I recognize from Instagram and that I know are like popular on Book Talk and Bookstagram and BookTube and all of that. And I'm just less drawn to those. I'm really less drawn to the books that just seem to be super popular at the moment, because it's hard to tell, are they popular for being popular, or are they popular because they're actually good? Like, the internet and social media is just something, it's just done something a little bit weird to books and book trends and things like that. So yeah, I struggle when it's something that's super popular, but that's a separate story. I did get some books at both bookshops, so I figured I would show you what I got. And on the topic of new books, I can also show you a couple other new books that I've picked up prior to today. I brought my iPad with me. I was gonna like sit and do some writing at the Bookish Shop at their coffee bar, but I had to leave. I had to leave. It was too much for me. At Changing Hands, outside from Beyond Words Bookshop, which is owned by Kelly Boggs, a positively bookish space. That's their logo. And that's all their socials if you want to look them up. They're not open yet, but she said they're opening in Mesa, not that far from the Bookish Shop in Gilbert. That's exciting. So I'm gonna follow them on Instagram. Looks like they're on Instagram, so I'll give them a follow on Instagram, and then once they're open, probably go check them out. But they had the definitive edition, Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl, which I had to have read this in elementary school. I own a copy of this, but I don't remember reading it. So I have been wanting to reread this for the last few years, and when I saw they had the definitive edition, it's definitely thicker than the edition that I have. So yeah, I figured I'd pick this up and give this a read. Oh, I also got this sticker. I couldn't resist this sticker. I don't know, I've got other like cute stickers like this. I don't know what to do with them because like it seems like too much commitment to stick them down on something. So I need to get like a clear laptop case or something that I can just like stick these between the clear case and my laptop. But yeah, I love this. Avoid looking forward or backward and try to keep looking upward by Charlotte Bronte. I just thought that was really nice. So I got that sticker and this book from Beyond Words Bookshop. And I'm really excited that another new bookstore will be opening, new indie bookstore. We need more. I was joking with the woman though. I'm like, oh, Mesa, like, why are they all in Mesa and Tempe and Gilbert? Like, where are the independent bookstores in Scottsdale? But no, it'll be good. So then I went inside, changing hands, and I did walk around quite a bit, and I found a used copy, hardback, for $9 of Samantha Harvey's Orbital. This has been on a few different YouTubers who I follow. It just keeps popping up, and I can't. I'm curious now, and it's fairly little. It doesn't seem like it's that long. I feel like this would be a relatively quick read. I like the premise. I just think it sounds really interesting. I almost bought this at Barnes & Noble when I picked up my copy of Daisy Dunn's The Missing Thread, but it was a paperback copy and it was more expensive than this, and I just figured I'll wait, I'll read The Missing Thread and then maybe get that next. But when I saw hardback for an $8.95 used copy, I'm like, done, sold, give it to me. So then went to the Bookish Shop and wandered around and really struggled. I was just struggling overall. Too many people, and it's too late in the semester for me to be in a situation with crowds. I was just starting to feel really overstimulated and I just kind of needed to leave. But I almost missed this, and I had been looking at this one the last time I was there, so when I saw that they still had one copy that I could see, one copy left, I thought, okay, it's a sign, this is the book I'll get. And this is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I feel like this came out, this is a newer edition with a new introduction, it says. Yeah, 2013, and then the introduction copyright is 2018, so even this edition is a little bit older. I've definitely seen this. This was floating around and catching my attention years ago, maybe not all the way back in 2013, and it seemed like something I would be interested in. I'm just getting kind of nostalgic vibes off of reading the book description, so I figured this would be a good one to pick up. I think it just sounds really cute and like a really fun early summer read, so I'll probably read this shortly after posting final grades. So those are the 3 books that I got at the bookstores today, but I have picked up or been given a couple other books recently, so we might as well just throw them in here. At work, I was able to pick up a copy of Custodians of Wonder by Elliot Stein, and I saw this on the shelf at Changing Hands next to another book that I almost got but took a picture of and took a vlog clip of, and we'll go back and get. But this one sounds really interesting. So this is going to be our common read pick for the fall. I don't think I'm going to be able to use it in my classes because I'm not teaching any first year comp classes in the fall, but I picked up a copy just in case my schedule gets changed and so that I can read this over the summer. It just sounds really, really interesting. Ancient customs, profound traditions, and the last people keeping them alive. I just thought that sounds really cool, so I'm looking forward to reading that this summer. And then off the recommendation of Kaylin from the YouTube channel Kaylin Grace Apple, I'd asked her for book recommendations on like early American history, and she recommended Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings, An American Controversy by Anne Gordon Reed. And as soon as she started describing it, I was like, yes, that sounds like the kind of book I'm looking for on this topic. So I know a little bit about Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings, but I'm really intrigued by this book and what I kind of saw in the book description. I will keep you updated as I am reading this, but this will be another summer read. I need to organize all of my books that I have been collecting recently that I know I really want to read this summer. I need to get them all in like one stack that I can like pull from and decide whatever I'm in the mood for from that stack at whatever that moment is. So I've got the Crimson Moth series, I've got Jason Stanley's book, I've got this book, I've got Daisy Dunn's book, I've got Custodians of Wonder, I've got these three, and then there were some other books from last summer that I didn't get to before I started switching to like autumnal and like witchy vibes. So I've got plenty of books to choose from. I do not need to buy any more books. And I really should not let myself buy any more books until I rearrange those bookshelves, because I have nowhere to put these books while I am waiting to read them or once I have finished reading them. It's a problem. It's the least of my problems, but I admit it is a problem. Anyway, I have a killer headache, so I'm gonna go get changed into my cozy clothes. I'm gonna get some late lunch because I think part of why I'm not feeling well is because I'm hungry. So yeah, I'm gonna relax, maybe do some reading. I did start reading book 1 of the Crimson Moth duology. I started reading The Heartless Hunter and I'm about halfway through. So I might do some more reading in that today, and I need to do some vlog editing as well. So first, food and reading and just relaxing and trying to get my head to stop hurting at least a little bit, and then maybe I can think about doing some vlog editing. If I don't get up and walk around for just a little bit, I am going to fall asleep. I need coffee. Not caffeinated coffee, because it's getting late in the afternoon. But I'm hoping decaf will have just enough, but not so much that I can't sleep tonight. I don't know what to use. I'm overthinking this. I am definitely overthinking this. We'll just go with this one. I am so tired. I am so tired. You know, next year for Independent Bookshop Day, we're doing an online order. I wanted to support the bookshops. That's all I wanted. But it's too late in the semester. I do not have the energy to spend a Saturday gallivanting halfway across Phoenix to go to bookshops. It sounded like a great idea. It was a bad idea. I don't regret it. I'm glad I've got the books that I got, and it was a fun morning going out. Like, I don't regret it, but there's a lot I'd do differently. I'm so tired. This semester has just completely kicked my trash, as a friend of mine would say. I have nothing left. Nothing at all. Zero. Like, I'm trying to read and I'm really enjoying this book. I really am. But my brain keeps like just shutting down, and it's 4:15, so it's way too late. Why can I never open this? There we go. It's way too late to take a nap, but it's way too early to go to bed. Can I just get to 8 o'clock and then I can go to bed? Let me know in the comments, am I the only one who does iced coffee in a coffee mug? I have too many cute mugs. I have too many cute mugs. I'll show you. If you're new here, this is my mug cabinet with the few glasses I have. But like, I've got so many cute mugs, and they're stacked all the way to the back. They're stacked like 3 deep. Right now I've moved most of the Christmas mugs to the back and then the non-Christmas mugs to the front. But like, they're 3 deep on that shelf, on that shelf. They're stacked back there. They're stacked back there. This one I've made more room, but some are dirty, so like this is normally a little bit more full, but like I've got so many cute mugs. And it's only hot drink weather for like 3 months out of the year. So if I don't put iced drinks in mugs that are meant for hot drinks, I'll never get enough use out of my mugs. So I am that weirdo who puts iced drinks in mugs. Oh, I think this was my mistake. I should have gotten a coffee at the Bookish Shop, even if I got it to go. I think when I left the shop, I was thinking that I might stop at Press up on my end of town. I just, as I was leaving, like I was looking at the coffee ordering area and there wasn't a line, but I would have still had to wait for them to make something. And I just had this feeling of, you need to get back up to North Scottsdale, like immediately. And so I got in the car and I left, and I thought if I have the energy, I'll stop at Press and then come home. I thought maybe I would stop at Press and like sit and work on my iPad. I wanted to do some like writing in a coffee shop today, but by the time I made it through traffic, there wasn't much traffic, but what traffic there was annoying AF and was working my last nerve. And so I just needed to get home, basically. But I should have made myself an iced coffee as soon as I got home, and I didn't, so I am now rectifying that mistake. I'm watching a YouTube video. It's on mute, so it doesn't bother you all. And it just had some ads, and one of them, maybe it's because I'm watching this like dark academia, you know, mysterious library, because it kind of fits with the book that I'm reading, because I haven't seen this ad with any of the other videos I've been watching, but apparently there's a new Final Destination movie. I never watched the originals, but I'm well aware of all the like references and things. I will not drive behind a truck with logs or anything that looks like shady and barely strapped down in the back, because I know enough. Anyway, I guess there's a new Final Destination movie. And I'm just thinking, like, do we need that? Like, do we really need that? Let me know if you watched the original Final Destinations, but I just feel like, is Gen Z going to be interested in them? As I really don't know if those movies would have much appeal to the generation that is the age that most of us were when those movies first came out. So like, is Gen Z really going to be interested? And aren't millennials, like, we're traumatized enough by those movies. Are any millennials actually signing up for more psychological trauma due to Final Destination? I'd love to know. If you watched those movies to begin with, if you're interested in the new one coming out, if so, if either, how old are you? Like, I'm just thinking, no. I saw that preview and I was just like, I've seen it a few times now watching these videos, and I'm just like, no, you couldn't pay me to go see that. Like, I have been traumatized enough as a millennial. I don't need any more. Technically I'm a zennial. And when you think about the movies that I was raised on, the tail end of Gen X pop culture and the older end of millennial pop culture, we zennials, we're in this like little, like middle of a Venn diagram of just how effed up could our pop culture have been? Any other zennials, let me know. So yeah, anyway, that preview, just seeing it come on again, I'm like, I just need to ask. I just need to ask you all. I'm gonna sit back down with my coffee and I'm gonna try to keep reading. I'm really enjoying this book. So I'm reading Heartless Hunter, book 1 of the Crimson Moth duology or series or whatever. It's YA. And it definitely is YA. Like, I get those vibes. Like, I can tell it's just written for a younger audience. My brain is appreciating that right now, because I don't think my brain could handle a fantasy story like this if it was intended for an adult audience. So I don't mind the YA. I'm actually enjoying that. It's fantasy, and it's about a witch who's trying to rescue other witches, and a witch hunter who thinks he knows that she's this witch vigilante. I'm getting massive Scarlet Pimpernel vibes off of this. Like, I haven't like read any reviews, and obviously the age that it's targeted to would not have read the Scarlet Pimpernel and would not be familiar with it, but it's making me realize I need to track down a new copy. I have a copy of the Scarlet Pimpernel, but it's a really old mass market, like small paperback. I think it's like a 4x6 paperback. And I don't know that my eyes could handle the font anymore. So I would like to get, like find maybe a really nice, beautiful edition of the Scarlet Pimpernel. So I need to go check out like the classics section at Changing Hands the next time I'm there. But it's making me want to reread that. And that's not fantasy, but it is like action adventure, historical action adventure with some romance. I'm also tempted to see if I can find the, oh gosh, was it the late 90s, early 2000s? The TV series, mini-series adaptation with Richard E. Grant and, oh, what's her name? The mom from Downton Abbey, Elizabeth McGovern. I really liked that. The costumes are really good in it too. So yeah, this is totally giving me Scarlet Pimpernel vibes, but like set in a fantasy universe and witches, not an English aristocrat rescuing other aristocrats from the French Revolution and the guillotine. But parallels are definitely there. So I'm really enjoying it. I think mostly because of that reason, but I'm a little bit more than halfway now. So we'll see how the rest of book 1 goes. I'm hoping as the first book progresses and then going into the second book, because I'm figuring the first book is called The Heartless Hunter or Heartless Hunter, and the second book is Rebel Witch. I need more witchcraft. I will say that. Like, that's the only thing I feel like I'm missing right now. It's a book about witches, and yet there's like not much spell work happening and not much witchcraft that I'm really seeing. So I'm hoping that changes. But I am, even if it doesn't, like, I'm still really enjoying this book. So I'm gonna stop rambling and I'm going to get back to snuggling on the couch with my iced coffee and this book and try to keep myself awake. I cannot fall asleep this early on a Saturday, but what can I say? Like, I just live a really exciting life where I want to go to bed at 4 p.m. on a Saturday. Okay, it is 7:54, so it's basically 8 o'clock, so I'm gonna go to bed. I am so tired. I finished Heartless Hunter, and I am now 19 chapters into Rebel Witch. I think I'm up to chapter 20, but I am so tired. Have I said that yet in this vlog? I hope you've enjoyed this vlog. I feel like it didn't go quite how I had planned. I was not I just crashed. I was mentally and physically crashing before I even got to the Bookish Shop, to be honest. I really shouldn't have gone out today. I really wanted to, and I'm glad I did, but it's too late in the semester and I'm too tired to be engaging in such shenanigans. So I am going to rest tomorrow for sure. But I'm gonna wrap this vlog up here. So if you've enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. That would be amazing. And I would really appreciate that. Say hi in the comments. Let me know, did you go to a local indie bookstore for Independent Bookstore Day? If you did, I hope you had fun. I hope you found some good stuff. I guess the question other than that can just be, what are you reading, or what have you recently finished? I shared my recent reads earlier and a few new books that I'll be reading soon. So let me know something you've read lately or something you're currently reading. I'm enjoying Rebel Witch so far. I feel like these two books are just gonna bleed together in my head. I did appreciate in the acknowledgements the author does reference the Scarlet Pimpernel, so suspicion confirmed, it was an inspiration. Totally getting those vibes, but I think it's probably one of the reasons why I'm really enjoying this series. Like, I think that's my favorite part, that it's so clearly inspired by the Scarlet Pimpernel. I kind of wish that she leaned a little bit harder into that. Like, it's now making me kind of think about doing a fantasy, paranormal, like witchy, but also maybe some vampires, like retelling of the Scarlet Pimpernel. Like, follow that plot more closely than she does in this series, but add in some fantasy elements, because I think that would work really well. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. So I will keep you all posted on how I feel as I finish that book, so stay tuned to future vlogs. So yeah, let me know what you've recently finished reading or what you're currently reading, or you can leave me some book emojis in the comments to let me know which one of you lovely people have made it all the way to the end of this vlog. And I am now gonna go to bed early, like the old person that I am becoming. So I am going to say goodbye, and I will see you all very soon in the next vlog. Thank you very much for watching this one. Bye!